Good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. Want to take a moment and welcome everybody to the 2024 Abington Candidates Forum. We'd like to start by having Representative Allison Sullivan-Almeida lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sorry, she is yelling. Would everyone please stand on the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Before we start, we have a quick statement from our town clerk, Leanne Adams.
Everybody. It has come to my attention that the candidates that are listed on the ballot were listed incorrectly. Mass General Law states that if you are an incumbent, you should be listed first. And throughout this ballot, it was not done that way. And for that, I do apologize. I have been in touch with the printer of the ballots, and I did that this afternoon, and I'm going to speak to her tomorrow morning, first thing, about when we can get the new ballots sent out to us. If you have already voted, if you voted earlier, if you came into the office, those ballots are already separated by precinct anyway, and they will be hand counted on election night. And I do apologize for that. The same. Those will be separated as well. Does anybody have any other?
So if you have a mail-in ballot that you haven't filled it out, you should wait for a new one to come?
You can bring it into the office. If you're able to do that, yes, and we'll take care of it for you. I'm guessing it's going to take at least a week for the new ones to be mailed out to us, but I'll know more tomorrow. Okay, and if you have any questions, if you don't know our number, 781-982-2112, please don't hesitate. Just give me a call, and we'll walk you through it and explain what happened and get you a new one as quickly as we can. Okay, and to the candidates that are here or watching, I do apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Democracy only works when people get involved. Tonight, we're going to meet some of these people willing to run for office and carry on our long-established history of self-governance and small d democracy. This candidates forum is sponsored by Abington's Democratic and Republican town committees, as well as Aspire, Abington for Social Progress, Inclusion, Representation, and Equity. Let's thank these three groups for leading by example, coming together and cooperatively organizing an event that will help voters make an informed choice on April 27th. Thank you very much for watching this. This is also being recorded by Abington Camp for later broadcast and will be available on their YouTube channel down the road before the election days. Before we start, we are going to hear from candidates for office who do not have an opponent, who are very lucky in that regard. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, let Abington voters know why they're running and what they hope to accomplish, and we'll have a quick question for them as well. Just a quick note, I am a candidate for the Abington Planning Board, and one of those candidates fortunate enough not to have an opponent. However, out of fairness to my role as moderator for this event, I'm foregoing the opportunity to speak as a candidate tonight. So I do want to introduce first, as a candidate for school committee, Pam Neely. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. I've never run for anything before, so I have no idea. All right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start by thanking the Abington Republican and Democratic town committees and Abington Aspire for inviting me here tonight. In addition, I would like to thank Rick Collins for moderating and Cam for videotaping this forum. I'd also like to say a special thank you to everyone here attending in person and those that are viewing at home, because I know you're taking precious time away from your busy schedules, so I appreciate that. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pam Neely, and I'm running for the Abington School Committee. I decided to run for this position based on my involvement with the 5-year district strategic planning committee in the fall of 2023. The committee was made up of administrators, staff, parents representing each of the schools. We went through an intense process to identify what's important to the stakeholders and how to best provide education based on the resources that are available. When I realized there was an opening on school committee, I jumped at the chance to ensure the hard work and effort that went into the strategic plan would be executed to the best of the district's ability during my term. As for my background, I have been a PTO volunteer throughout the district in various ways, regardless if I had a student at the school. I have held the PTO townwide treasurer position since May of 2016 to ensure oversight of the funding to enrichment and students' needs throughout the district. I have been a member of several school council committees and helped work on school improvement plans. I have been a leader and a co-leader of 2 Girl Scout troops. In addition, I have substituted at the Early Intervention Program, the Beaverbrook Elementary School, and the middle school, and held a paraprofessional position at the Early Education Program prior to COVID. After COVID, I returned to my accounting roots, and I am currently the Accounting and Benefits Administrator with the National Electrical Contractors Association of Greater Boston. Above all, I'm a parent to a 4th and a 7th grader, and married to Brian, aka Mr. Pam, who are all my primary focus in life. I am running to be a volunteer of the district and will abide by the rules and regulations that are set forth. If anyone has any questions, please contact me at Pamela_Neely@verizon.net. And I thank you again for this opportunity, and I look forward to assisting in getting our students prepared to face challenges of the future in this ever-changing world. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. One quick question that we have. If elected to the school committee, what will be your top priorities of focus over your 3-year term?
That's a great question. And based on the strategic planning committee, it focuses on all the important things I want to capture, like safety of the students, making sure that the education aligns throughout each of the classes, and with it conforms to the vision of the graduate, as well as ensure that there's proper communication between home and school, school to school, and classroom to classroom.
Great. And if someone has a question, want to get in touch with you, what's a good way they can do that?
They can email me at Pamela_Neely@verizon.net.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right. Are there any other candidates for office who wanted to speak with it? All right. All right, so then we'll move straight to the main event. Could I have the 3 candidates for Board of Selectmen come step forward and take your seat? Just a couple of rules before we officially get started. Tonight's forum is not a debate, it's not an interrogation, it's a chance to hear from the 3 candidates running for the Abington Select Board, while remembering that we are and will remain neighbors, friends, and colleagues. Each candidate will have a 2-minute opening statement, and then we'll move on to the questions. Earlier this week, organizers of this event provided the candidates with the topics of the first 3 questions that they felt represented 3 of the biggest challenges facing the town in the year to come. After those questions, we'll move on to questions submitted by the members of the public. Those in attendance can also write down questions on index cards, and we will dip into the vast catalog of questions curated over the years by previous moderators of this forum. If you do submit a written question, we ask that it be directly related to the Select Board, the policies of the town, or a matter of general interest to the voters of Abington. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question, and we will alternate who answers the question first, second, and third. We will start alphabetically with Mr. Bunker, and then go on to Mr. Chapin, Mr. Woods, and rotate from there. Timekeeper, sitting over here, will hold up a yellow card when there's 30 seconds left, and a red card when there's 15 seconds left. And if you run over, I'll then feel free to rudely interrupt you. After everyone has answered a question, we'll leave the option open for a 1-minute follow-up statement or rebuttal. From time to time, I may also look to probe a little deeper on an issue. A candidate may mention another candidate, but the expectation is that it's done so in a respectful manner. And if for some reason the forum starts to become uncivil, which I can't imagine that happening, we will ask the candidates to refrain from mentioning each other. I will also ask that the audience here refrain from applauding, cheering, heckling, muttering, or otherwise editorializing while candidates are responding. We'll answer questions for about 50 to 55 minutes, and then candidates will have 1-minute closing statements. Any questions before we begin?
Nope.
Rick,
Yes.
if anyone does want to submit a written question, that it's actually post-it notes down there in pens if anybody does want to do that. Feel free.
All right. So we will start with Paul Bunker.
Thank you, Rick. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the Democratic and Republican committees and Abington Aspire for hosting tonight's forum and all the residents that ask questions and are watching at home. So a little bit about myself. My name is Paul Bunker. I'm a lifelong Abington resident. I'll have lived here for 45 years next week. I graduated Abington High School, class of 1997. My incredible wife, Susan, and I decided a long time ago that we wanted to stay in Abington. We have a wonderful son, 8-year-old, named Benjamin. I currently work as a project manager / construction engineer for a large general contractor in the state of Massachusetts. Currently, I'm the chairman of Abington Conservation and have served in that role since November 2021. I'm also a member of the Ames Knoll Advisory Board, along with Rick. I'm a proud member of the Abington Little League Board, the Abington Youth Soccer Board. You'll see me at any of the sports fields. I'm coaching Little League Baseball, street hockey, fall soccer, and currently spring soccer. My parents live in town still, as many of my aunts, uncles, and cousins followed after them. And anyone that knows me knows that family and friends are the most important thing to me. That is one of the main reasons why I've decided to run. I love this town. Abington has given myself and my family so many wonderful memories. I want to do my part in any way to give back to the community, make it thrive, and make it prosper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chapin.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the Abington Republican Town Committee, the Abington Democrat Town Committee, and Aspire for hosting this event. Thank you, Rick, and thanks Abington Camp for helping the broadcast. A quick introduction. My name is Tim Chapin. I'm currently serving on the Board of Selectmen. I'm running for what will hopefully be my 3rd term. Over the past 6 years, it's been my pleasure to serve the town I was born and raised in, the town that we have chosen to raise our family in, and the town that I love. 6 years ago, I decided to run for a seat on the Board of Selectmen. I ran with the promise that I would have open and honest communication with the residents of Abington. I feel I've lived up to that promise, and if I have the privilege of being re-elected, that is what I'll continue to bring the residents. I encourage all of you here and everybody that may be watching this on Abington Cam to listen carefully tonight. And on April 27th, when we go to the polls, vote for the candidates that you truly believe will keep Abington moving forward. Again, thank you to everyone in attendance and everyone taking the time out of their busy day to watch at home. Your involvement and care is what makes Abington a great community to live and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Woods.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank the Abington Aspire and the Democratic Republican Town Committees for holding tonight's candidate forum. I'd also like to thank Rick for hosting, for being the moderator, and Abington Cable, those in attendance, and obviously my fellow candidates. My name is Roger Woods. I've been a resident of Abington since age 4. It's been a long time, believe me, since age 4. I attended the Abington Public Schools, graduated in '81, attended Massasoit, next town over, in Bentley after that, graduating both. I'm the father of one daughter with Emily, who just turned 4, which makes me a very old girl dad. I'm a small business owner with my office right down the end of the street here at the entrance to the high school and town hall complex. I'm currently the Abington representative to the Southfield Redevelopment Authority, which is the air base over in Weymouth, and I'm a member of the Fire Station DPW Building Committee. I have past municipal experience as a member of the Board of Selectmen 30 years ago, Housing Authority, as well as other committees. Our town faces significant financial constraints in the coming years, and we need experienced people to lead. I ask for one of your 2 votes for Board of Selectmen on the 27th, and I look forward to responding to your questions this evening so you can better understand my candidacy. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. Mr. Chapin, this one is for you first. Concerns have been raised regarding property taxes in Abington, specifically residential property taxes. How do you propose that the town eases the residential tax burden while protecting all of the necessary services that those taxes support?
Of course, this one's top of mind for everybody. It's probably the question I've got the most over the past 6 years. In those 6 years, every year we've voted to lower the tax rate. Property values continue to rise. I won't apologize for that. That is a testament to how great Abington is. But the commercial properties continue to decline. And that's the major issue, because the burden for the taxpayers has fallen too much on the residents. I would like to see the town start a revitalization program with the commercial businesses, maybe giving some sort of rebate for them to remodel, some incentive for them to remodel their building or their property and have their property values go up as much as our residential properties have gone up, thus kind of evening out the burden a little bit. It does two things. It does that. It evens out the burden a little bit. Their property taxes will go up, and it'll also attract new businesses into town, because when companies are looking to say where they're going to locate, they look at what the other businesses are doing. If they see old rundown buildings, they're probably not going to want to make their stake there. But if they see a vibrant community that has good commercial buildings with busy storefronts, they're more likely to come, thus, raising our commercial percentage.
Thank you very much. Mr. Woods, to you.
I have a pretty aggressive plan for this. I personally think that Abington needs to work towards getting a split tax rate. What that means is that there's a different rate for commercial property as opposed to residential property. The purpose of that is to bring relief to residential homeowners, which I think we dearly need. So from a person that's been involved in the real estate business since I was 22 years old, part of the problem is when I was on the board before, we got Target and Walmart here. Those are big employers, they're big taxpayers. Abington has a reputation for not being business friendly. I'm putting it out there. I want everyone, I've been here before, so I'm going to call it like it is. We need to decide as a town, and my proposal would be to put together a package to go to a town meeting just for even a consensus, so we get the people behind us. I think that the Route 18 and Route 123 corridor should be developed commercially. We need to get to 25% of our tax base being commercial to be able to do a split tax rate. So we need to become aggressive on luring those commercial businesses to Abington. Now, the road's been widened at north on Route 18 because of the air-based redevelopment. So you're going to start to see some people come here, but I think we need to be more aggressive because we need to bring tax relief to the homeowners. And I think the only way to do that is to build the commercial base up to 25% and do a split tax rate.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bunker.
So, first of all, I agree with Roger, what he said about getting to a split tax rate. But first and foremost, I think in my line of work, you need to be proactive instead of reactive. So I think we need to see what potential budget issues are coming up, work with the department heads, and see what we can do to make everything work for the next budget. I know we have an excellent finance committee and town manager. They work tirelessly. It seems like every time I come up here for a meeting, they're in this room working at the budget for the next year. But I think the most important thing that we can do is bring businesses into town. I know Union Point, to me, it'd be great to get commercial businesses in there, but I think that is a little bit of ways away until they get the water situated. I mean, Roger, you could probably answer that better than myself being on the board over there. And I agree with you. I think the focus should be on bringing commercial businesses to Route 18. And also North Abington, there's a lot of vacant storefronts there that could use our help. I think one of the things we should do is reach out to the existing long-standing businesses in town, see what we as a town are doing to help them out, and also see what we could do better. And once we get our commercial tax base growing, then we can discuss the split tax rate. And another thing on that is we need to also find a way to take care of our seniors in town. You always hear stories about people who lived in this town for a long time and they're just getting priced out. They can't afford to live here anymore because of the taxes. We need to find a way to help them. I know one of my conservation commissioners, they volunteer X amount of hours in town and they get money off of their taxes. I think that's a program that should be more publicized to the seniors in town.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Can
Second question.
I do a follow-up on that?
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to mention.
1 minute.
What Paul was talking about is the senior tax rebate program, which I guess we have to toot our horn a little here. I started when I was here 30 years ago. That was one of the programs I created when I was a selectman in the past. People work for the town and they get a certain amount of money off their tax bill. One of my positions would be to expand that program to make it more available to more of the seniors. Thank you.
Any other? Tim?
Yeah, I'd take a minute. The idea of a split tax rate is great, and I really wish we could do that. 25% commercial. Right now, we're at 7% commercial. I mean, you're talking about more than tripling our commercial. That's not going to happen probably in my lifetime, let alone the next 3 years. So I'd love to be able to split the tax rate, but it's just not feasible for a small residential town. Unless the air base were to be maybe 90% commercial, but that's not going to be developed within the next 3 years. I don't see how that's even possible.
Can I respond?
Yep.
It'd be a great goal to get to the 25%. All we can do is try.
Moving on, Mr. Woods, I believe you're first on this one. At the recent town meeting, the possibility of moving to a pay-to-throw model for trash disposal or a annual permit system was raised. Town meeting has some strong views. I want to get your thoughts on the proposal, especially on how to pay for trash as it keeps increasing.
Good question. I've been out on this already, so I'm for the trash being included in the taxes as it is right now. Because all we're doing is we're taking the money for the trash and using it to pay for other budgets. So I'm not for pay for throw or any of those. But if the town meeting decided to do that, then I would motion for an exclusion for any single-family homeowners 70 years or older to get a waiver that they wouldn't have to pay.
Okay. Mr. Bunker?
I'm in agreement with Mr. Woods on this. I like the system we have now. I've asked people that I know in other communities, one being Fall River, one being Hanson, where they do this already, and they don't like it. They can't give me the reason why they don't like it. They just don't like having to pay per bag. I've been doing some research. EPA has a website where they have a calculator that basically tells you if it's feasible in your town or not. I'm still trying to learn the system to figure that out. But again, and same thing with what Roger said. I think that there should be a cap on what seniors or people on fixed incomes pay for it.
Okay.
If we do go to that system.
Mr. Chapin?
I'd love to sit up here and say, that it's never going to happen, that we're going to have to pay for trash outside our budget. It'd be a great thing to say during a campaign, but there's really going to be some hard choices made over this next year. I would love to see it stay on the tax rolls. I really hope we can do that. The Finance Committee has worked hard over the last 5 years to keep it that way, and they're going to continue to do that. So hopefully we can keep it that way, but if the decision comes down before the next budget, whether we do that or we lay off, 10 police officers, some decisions may be coming that just are going to be real tough, and it's going to take some experienced leadership to get us through it and hopefully be able to keep the trash on the tax rolls.
Let me ask all three of you this. Is there a way to look at it instead through reduction in the amount that we throw into the stream? So that if one of the problems is that we keep throwing away more trash, is there a way to work with residents to reduce the amount of trash that we're disposing of and bring down costs that way? Do you think there's any opportunities?
I think the town does that now with the recycle bins. I'll give you another reality. My little office down the street here, we have a dumpster. We get hit all the time. Every week, I come in early in the morning and there's rubbish all over the ground from somebody coming during the night, tossing rubbish. So one of the realities of a pay-as-you-throw or that type of situation is if the town decides to do that, I want to make sure we put rules, regulations, and fines in for catching people dumping rubbish, because trust me, if we go to that, you're going to see rubbish everywhere. Chestnut Street, they're going to be dumping it. So what we have is we have a budget problem coming up. We have to face it. Facing it, you can either raise taxes, which I'm not for because it's pricing people out of Abington, or you have to sit down and as been said, and I've been saying in my literature, we have to make hard decisions. So that's what we're facing, and it has to be more publicly put out there, I think, by the board and by the town that we're facing a financial crisis in the next year or two, and I don't think people are really aware of how extreme that's going to be.
Anyone else wanting to respond?
Yeah, I was a little caught off guard too at town meeting about the trash article. It seemed like it was one of the more talked about articles, and I don't really recall seeing much information thrown out about it before. I mean, my fault for not doing research. But I'd also like to see, if we can, expand on our recycling program, educate better, see if we can get more recycling done.
Mr. Chairman?
It's really what the town's been doing right now. We just, have a new enforcement agent out checking to make sure people aren't abusing the trash because, as you know, we pay for the tonnage. So anything we can do to reduce it would be great. Years ago when trash was first put on the tax rolls, we were getting paid for recycling. Now, we don't get paid for that. We're paying to remove it, and finding people to take it is getting harder and harder. So the cost isn't going to be going down. So we really have to try to reduce our tonnage. That's really our only way out.
Mr. Bunker, this question is for you first. Is the town overdeveloped? And if so, would you support zoning amendments curtailing future growth? Conversely, are there areas where you believe further development is appropriate?
So I believe we're at a tipping point with overpopulation. I'll use my son, I don't know if he's still here, as an example. When he got into Beaverbrook Elementary School 2 years ago, his class was so big, they were having trouble finding rooms to make all the students fit. Another issue with that is water. It seems like we've been in a perpetual water ban for at least a decade. I know water's becoming more available, but how long is that going to last? And it goes back to what Tim said too, is the commercial tax base is at 7% right now. If we keep building residential, the number's going to go down. It's going to be harder to ever get to 25. But as far as building, I believe there is a need for building for affordable housing and for affordable senior housing. And one of the things that we've done on conservation since I've been chair is take land and put it into conservation. What that does, it's basically one of the hardest things to do. Once it's put in conservation, it's very hard to build on once you do that or get it taken back.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Chapin?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure thing. Essentially, do you feel the town is overdeveloped?
Overdeveloped? No. I think all towns are going to grow. Anybody who's looking for or tried looking for a house recently in Abington knows that there's a lot more demand than there is supply. Rents are through the roof. Home prices are through the roof. But any future development needs to be done smartly. It needs to be sustainable. I would like to see some of it with mixed with commercial. If we were to do when developers come in, really encourage maybe one floor of commercial and a floor of residential, so we can kind of even it out that way a little bit. But no, it needs to be done smart, and you really need to work with the developers. A lot of times you can get them to help improve the infrastructure around the area that they're going to be moving into, because that's where we're going to need the help.
Same question for you, Mr. Woods.
I think we need to build some elderly housing in Abington. There isn't any really over 55 housing with a market rate. We have our senior housing. I think both of the schools that have been vacant for years are perfect locations. One of my positions is to immediately liquidate the schools. although the North School is going to be used as the highway department for a few years while we build the new DPW fire station. And then I would move to immediately sell the fire station and the North School after that fact. I think they should be put out as elderly housing to a developer. Again, as I said earlier, I think the 12318 corridor should be developed commercially, and that would include mixed-use property, which you see commercial or retail on the first floor, 1 or 2 floors of residential on top. I'm not for what they did in Weymouth. Even though I'm in the real estate business, I don't like the towers. I don't think we want that in Abington, or at least I don't. I think what we need to do more in Abington is we need to put a plan out there for the people to be aware of ahead of time so they can vote on it, so we can get their feedback. And I don't think, and I was there 30 years ago and we didn't do it. We need to do that now because taxes are getting too high for everybody. And we need to move forward and bring in the commercial base. I think we can increase the commercial base. The road, the opening of the road, like I said, north on Route 18 is going to bring in substantially more businesses. And I think if Abington becomes a little more aggressive in welcoming businesses, we're going to get some of the bigger tax-paying chains that employ a lot of people that we'd like to have in Abington. And I think you'll see that commercial tax base increase.
All right, thank you very much. I believe we're back to Mr. Bunker. You'll be answering this first?
I already answered it.
No, new question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, we're dipping into our pile of submitted questions now. How do you balance your personal and political beliefs with the need to serve the community on a nonpartisan basis, especially when appointing people to positions in town that need filling? So, Mr. Bunker, I believe that's you first.
So you're talking about appointing someone to a specific board?
The Board of Selectmen has appoints
Yep.
several boards. Yep.
So right now, I mean, I don't know how many vacancies, but it seems like there's always some board that's has an opening on it. And anybody that wants to volunteer, bring them on. Anybody that's willing to donate their time, it's great. But as far as what board you're on, I thought when I was appointed to conservation 4 years ago that I knew everything about conservation from work. I got on that board. I was at this end of the table. The chairman's at that end of the table. I was shell-shocked. So there's several classes I took, got myself way more educated in conservation, and I spent hours just learning regulations, going to other towns, watching their board meetings and seeing how they operate. But anybody that wants to volunteer, they should have the opportunity, whatever board it is. And if you don't have experience, if you're willing to work, you can get the experience.
Thank you, Mr. Chapin. Can you read the question again, or are you?
No, I think I got this now. Thanks. Unfortunately, over the last 6 years, most of our appointments are one applicant for one position. But in the other times when there have been a lot of people that apply for certain boards or whatever, town manager search comes as one of them. I just do what I've said I'm always going to do, and that's I make the best decision that I think is for the town of Abington. I mean, none of us are getting paid. We're not handing out high-priced jobs or anything. It's usually a sentence more than a job. But it's what's best for Abington. I just go by the qualifications that they put on their paper. If I know them personally, I might know a little more about them on what they can bring to the table. But I would have no problem telling a friend or something, that's probably not the board you want to be on. Let's find something else.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
I think in most cases, the things are becoming so specialized that you're looking for someone that fits the qualification, whether it be someone on conservation or zoning or something like that. I think part of the issue is if you look at the ballot when you go to vote, there's vacant spots on. I think there's 2 on Board of Health. We had no people run. No one ran for that. There's an assessor no one ran for. I personally think that part of the problem is we need as elected officials, we need to be more forthcoming, more upfront about what's going on in town because there's a disconnect now. And I think what happens is people just don't, not that they don't care, people care, but they don't know what's going on, so they tend to not be involved. And I think looking at the ballot, just for this election alone, you can see that that's the case. I think if people are more informed by us, and everyone says, yeah, you got to get the people, they got to get into it themselves. But our job is to let you know what's going on, to put what we want to do out there, the ideas we want out there, and get your feedback. I think if we did more of that, and we're more forthright with it, you're going to get more people that want to be involved. Even though, let's all be honest, this is the most thankless thing in the world, doing anything for any town. It isn't just Abington. But you got to have thick skin, and if you're in it to really do what's best for the town, then you tend to let it roll off your back.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chapin, this question is for you. You'll start with it. How would you describe Abington's role in the Southfield project going forward? And what steps should the town take to ensure the best possible project?
I'll be happy if we can keep a developer. Really, we got to make sure. I mean, I understand they're doing a great job. Our SRA board, Mr. Woods on it now. They really have all done a great job in working with the developers. The rezoning for residential, commercial. I really would push for more the most commercial we can get over there over residential. Less burden on our schools, less burden on our services. But we got to make sure that they get water first. That's what they're working on now. Make sure that they get the water, and then when they start building, really try to encourage and promote commercial businesses to come in there and make it a little commercial center of town.
Great. Mr. Woods?
I have a little insight on this one. I'm the Abington representative to the airbase. Couple things going on. It's been a stop and start, I think, for 4 developers over there. We now have New England Development, Brookfield Properties, that are the master developer. They're the best around. They did the Canton, over by the Canton train station, that area. They do a lot in Boston there. Brookfield's the biggest developer in the world. Abington has 75 acres of land over there, which looks to be ideally suited for commercial development. One of the things we've been trying to push over there is we want whatever's going to bring the highest amount of tax benefit to Abington. Now, just so people understand, we're looking at a 15-year build-out over there. They need to solve a water and sewer problem, which could take anywhere from 4 to 8 years to solve. So they're working on that now. They have their filings with the state for conservation and those issues. But I think that Abington has a chance to bring in a substantial amount of tax dollars in the future from that project. And I think that the developer that we have on board now, the master developer it's called, is the right group to get that done.
Mr. Bunker?
So I was lucky enough, Roger invited conservation out there about a year ago. I went out again with open space. It was right before the special town meeting last year.
In the rain, not to interrupt, but
Not the
torrential rainstorm.
Not the first time. It was just cold. So the master developer, I saw their plans, their visions, what they want to do there, and they've done not only the project in Westwood, but also Pine Hills, which speaks for itself. But again, water is going to be the main issue. Getting it from either, I think the 2 options are MWRA and aquarium. And just getting something done, getting something passed through MWRA and all the towns that you're going to have to go through to get the water here. You got to jump through hoops. I have contacts with both groups through work that I'd love to engage if it ever comes to that point. But I'd also like to have an open dialogue with not only the select board, but also the people in town, keep them updated on what's going on out there. And again, I'm more inclined to ask for more commercial than residential out there, but it's mixed use and you're going to get both. I just hope there's more commercial.
One follow-up, if I could.
I actually have a quick follow-up.
Oh, sure. You're the boss.
Right in there. Does the best possible project mean the one that brings in the most revenue for Abington?
I think so,
Yeah.
because I think that would be commercial.
Okay. Did you wanted to follow up on something?
I did. I just wanted to let people know. There's 2, as Paul alluded to, there's 2 water potential things over there. One is Aquarian, which is a desalinization plant. The pipe is at Hofstra Farm, Peaceful Meadows to us old people in Whitman. And the other is coming from the MWRA from the Blue Hills. So one of the things that could benefit Abington greatly is the developer has to get the pipe either way to the airbase. They have to bring the water there before they can build. So what that'll do is either of those options that they end up doing is something that Abington can look at to tap into to satisfy our water problems. So there's a bigger benefit potential for Abington than just developing our 75 acres at the base. It's also satisfying our water problem for the future. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Mr. Chapin, did you want to answer that question as well? Whether or not the best project for the town is automatically means the one that brings the most revenue for the town?
With just that information, yeah, of course, it's the most revenue to the town, the better. If you're at, I mean, it's really a hypothetical. So, I mean, if you had two different projects, then I could look at it and say, well, no, maybe not. Maybe, no, the town needs this, even though it's less money than that. It's not always about getting the top tax dollar. Sometimes it's best for what's better for the kids or all the people of the community. So, but not without specifics, sure, let's get the money.
Mr. Bunker?
I agree.
All right, Mr. Woods, I believe this question goes to you first. We have several vacant school buildings, as well as 2 firehouses that will soon be vacated. The schools have been vacant for 6 years at a minimum, and nothing has come to fruition regarding them. What are your plans regarding these buildings?
Well, as I stated earlier, I talk too much because I get ahead of myself. So I said it earlier. I think that the center school should be liquidated immediately. The North School, with our committee of the DPW fire station, is suggesting that we move the highway department there for probably a couple of years because they need to go somewhere while we tear down their building and build them a new one. So I'd immediately liquidate that building after. Same with the fire station up on Bedford Street. As soon as the fire station vacates and moves into the new building, I would liquidate that. There's been talk in our building committee meeting of the town keeping what we call the Rockland Street Fire Station. It's the newer of the buildings, I think, which was built in '73, because there's a need for the town for that building. But liquidate the 2 schools and liquidate the fire station on Bedford Street.
Okay, Mr. Bunker?
Yeah, I mean, the schools have been sitting vacant for, as you said, 6 years. I mean, we're still paying for the utilities on them to keep them warm. We need to have a plan. And just like the fire stations, we should have a plan in place for what we're going to do with both fire stations before they move into the new station.
All right. Mr. Chapin?
Yeah, they've definitely been sitting vacant way too long. Definitely, I remember, board with Mr. Coyle and him fighting that something's got to be done, and that was a little ways ago. So it's been too long. We do have an RFP out right now going out on this on the center school for low-income apartments in there. I believe 12 of them. Unfortunately, the buildings are in rough shape. There's asbestos from the time that they were built, and selling them isn't a windfall for the town. I mean, we'll be lucky to break even. The cost of demolishing them, you're talking $2 million per person per building to demolish them. So the property values aren't worth a ton. I would like to see them developed into senior housing if possible. If we can get a developer to bite on that on the RFP, that they can make a good deal on that.
Great.
One quick follow-up. The buildings are worthless. Just so people, I see people talking about, we'll get $1 million, but as Tim said, the buildings are loaded with asbestos. The cost to remove the asbestos from both buildings is around $700,000 or $800,000 each building. So I'm just saying, from a real estate point, you're not going to get developers that are going to come in and offer hundreds of thousands of dollars for those buildings. But we need to get rid of them and get them turned over to senior housing. I think is the right move.
Mr. Bunker, any other?
And just to go off what you were saying about the asbestos, the longer we wait to come up with a plan to do something with those schools, all the prices are going to go up. It was probably $500,000 2 years ago to abate those schools.
Mr. Chapin, any other follow-ups?
It was, we've been looking at it the whole time, and the price was never that low. I wish it was. The sooner the better, but we're trying to salvage the center school, trying to sell it now. If anybody's interested, give us a call. But it's going to come to the point where we may just have to pay to demolish them ourselves because they're becoming a hazard being standing.
All right. Mr. Bunker, this question is for you first. Should the town manager seek to reopen collective bargaining agreements to seek concessions as one way to help solve the anticipated budget deficit next year?
Absolutely. I mean, any way to trim the budget so that we don't have to raise taxes or even talk about an override, I think we should be discussing, or the town manager should be discussing.
Mr. Chapin?
I can't think of a single department in town that's overpaid. No.
Mr. Woods?
No, I think, I don't know what remaining years are on the contracts right now, but I'm not for doing that. I think we need to look at the budgets, but I think if we've signed a contract with anybody, then we should honor it, and then we need to renegotiate it when we go to the new contract. That's when we do it. It'll be a complete morale killer for our departments to try and do that.
I thought we were talking about new contracts. I didn't think we were talking about contracts that already existed. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other comments from? Okay. Do we have any submitted questions?
Has already been asked.
Already been asked. All right. A declaration naming June as Pride Month was proposed at a meeting last year. What are your stances on declarations such as these? Do you think Abington should have one for Pride Month? What other ideas do you have for making Abington known as an inclusive and welcoming community? I believe, Mr. Chapin, this is for you first.
Declarations from the Board of Selectmen, I've always believed should be Abington specific. We've given them out to Fred Villa, Dave Nisby, Mr. Cox when he retired. These are all great ideas. As far as a broad one for things like Pride Day or anything like that, I don't think that's our role as selectmen. If there's a specific Pride committee that was doing something great in town, or absolutely bring them in. Let's recognize them. Let's give them their flowers. But just broad statements. I don't think that's really the Board of Selectmen's job.
Okay. Mr. Woods?
I think back when I was on the board before and I was on with Joe, we started the Abington's Best, which we gave out, which again Tim alluded to with the Fred Villa and people like that. I'm not against the proclamations that the town's doing. I think it's a different time now, and I think if we want, I'm one that even at my age of 60 want to get more people involved in town government. I think we need to. I think, as I said earlier, we're starting to see a huge disconnect, not only from town government towards the people, and then the people don't get involved, and we're seeing that again with the ballot, which I stated earlier with the vacancies. So I'm for doing anything that's going to bring more people in. It makes, to me, a more diverse town is a better town.
Mr. Bunker?
Yeah, I agree. A more diverse town is a better town. As far as the proclamations go, I don't see a problem with them as long as they're for a good cause and not agenda driven.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Woods, I believe you're up first for this one?
Sure.
All right. Selectmen said about a year and a half ago that they were going to take an inventory of the playing fields in town for athletics. This is in regards to when we were talking about using some space off Glenowitz Way to replace the basketball courts that we're going to be losing for the fire station project. There's also been interest in town building a street hockey rink. How would you address the town's recreational needs?
Honestly, I would do a survey. My daughter's 4, so we're just happy she can go across the room. So she's not playing sports yet. But I would definitely reach out to the recreation department. I would reach out to the parents that have kids that are in sports, and get. I can sit here and say, I think we should do this and do that, but I'm not talking from the guy that's out there every Saturday afternoon and Sunday with my kid playing sports. So I would reach out to the community, get what their needs are, and to find out exactly what we do need. Actually, we want to, and I think that the board has mentioned they want to rebuild the basketball courts. If you go by the police station now, they're packed, I think, all the time when the weather's good. I know there's talk about the land over here behind my office, actually, and also up at Arnold Park for expanding the basketball courts up there, which has been talked about for years. So I would reach out to the community and the Park and Rec to get their feedback on what is needed before we just pontificate on what we think is needed.
Okay. Mr. Bunker?
So right now as a soccer coach and as a baseball coach, we're struggling to find times to practice for each sport. between, if you have basically for baseball, you have Woodsdale, Laidler, Arnold, and Plymouth Street. We used to have Green Street, which I don't know when the last time baseball was played there. In soccer, basically, you're limited to the high school. I know about a year ago there was discussion about putting, I think, the basketball courts and then also street hockey up along the driveway up here. I don't know whatever happened with that. I know they talked about doing a survey about all the playing fields. I don't know if anything came to fruition about that, but we need a place for the Abington street hockey in another couple of years once the fire station starts going for them to play.
Mr. Chapin.
We definitely need some more recreation areas. It's not going to happen out of the budget. We're going to have to use CPA funds for that, or maybe some even private fundraising. But yes, I anybody who's been watching the Board of Selectmen meetings knows I pushed to have that land down the end of Glenowitz Way reserved for recreation. I think that'd be a good spot for the basketball courts. We are going to need street hockeys. I would like to see our street hockey league, which is gaining more and more momentum every year. My kids played for the first time this year and had a great time. I'd like to see that played in rinks instead of on basketball courts. So 1 or 2 rinks would fit there. Also have been getting a few calls of under 55 people that want to play pickleball. Don't want to intrude on the senior center. So maybe a pickleball court or 2. We have that land there. We have Murphy Field that's been sitting there for quite a while that we still own, that we can split that property from the center school. So we can save that and not sell it with the school. And then we also have land at Memorial Field where the old tennis courts used to be. It's now a parking lot that I don't know how necessary it is, but we've been lucky over the last few years, been able to, with ARPA funds, redo the baseball field. The varsity baseball field is absolutely wonderful. If anybody's been to the varsity softball field since they redid it recently, it looks great, new dugouts. And the town meeting just approved some great updates for Memorial Field that Mr. Riley worked very hard on. So it's doable. It's doable with CPA funds and maybe some private fundraising, but it needs to be done.
If I can just ask one clarification, is there anything ongoing right now in terms of surveying or figuring out what the needs are for the next few years or where things can go?
Not from the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have a quick follow-up? Okay. All right. Next question. Mr. Woods, is he here?
Sure.
I didn't want to chip somebody if they're take it away from somebody. All right. Mr. Woods, town elections bring out an average of less than 10% of the town's registered voters, which seems like fewer than the number of people who weigh in on Abington's social media posts. How can the town get more people to vote?
I think we can be more open and informative. That is my simple answer. I think if people were more aware of what's going on in town, they'll be more interested in getting involved. And I just want to mention a couple things. These are little things, but for years the town used to send the warrant out to everybody. Used to get it in the mail, just like your junk mail. But I think people were aware of what was going on because a lot of people, feedback I'm getting is read it. Now you get a piece of paper that says, go on this website. Now I know I'm old and I'm not really computer savvy like the younger people, but I still think we should be sending the warrant out so everybody gets the warrant with everything spelled out. It's the most important thing that we do as a town government is to inform the people as to what's going on. And I think we need to do that. And it just goes to I think I heard in this past week is that the bulletin they used to mail out at the senior center to everybody, they don't mail out. And I know it's because of the cost, but I think there's some things we need to do that there's cost to everything, but informing the people, I don't think we can skimp on. That's my position. I think that'll bring more people in.
Okay, Mr. Bunker?
Yeah, so social media is obviously one option to get it out there on all the town's websites, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Also, like Roger said, mailers, and maybe even doing some sort of reverse 911.
Mr. Chapin?
Yeah, to get more people to vote really starts with getting more people to step up and volunteer to run. When you have just one contested election, you're going to have less voters. That's why you've seen it dropping. There was a time where every race was contested, from the library to the Board of Selectmen. It's not like that anymore. That's why you're seeing it go down. So it's not really apathy. It's just a matter of the residents not knowing people that are running. So the more people we can get involved actually with the government, the more people that will vote.
One follow-up, I think part of that too is people don't want to get slammed on social media, which, you know, any board in town, they make a decision on something and they get attacked. And that's just the reality of what goes on. But I think that is a big part of why people don't get involved. I had Facebook because for my high school class, I was the class president to easily get a hold of my classmates to do reunions. I got off it a year and a half ago or so because it was just, it's crazy, you know, how some people attack people for volunteering to do the business of the town. And I just want to put that out. I think that's part of why people don't get involved.
Mr. Bunker, Mr. Chapin, any other?
No, I stay away from social media for the same reasons.
All right, I'm going to actually combine these next two questions because they're very similar. How would you balance what's expected to be a multi-million-dollar budget cap next year? Should town employees be prepared for layoffs? Or how would you recommend using any of the one-time funds the town has, such as the stabilization fund? And that is Mr. Bunker first, I believe.
Again, it goes back to the finance committee. They see what the budget looks like, see where the potential shortfalls are. I wouldn't start telling people, you know, your department, you're going to lose 5 teachers, or we're going to have to lay off a firefighter or a police officer. You just need to, again, be proactive, see where you can trim the budget before you start worrying about laying people off.
Okay. Mr. Chapin?
We've had a few years here where ARPA funds have really helped us out to do things. We voted to build a new fire station. We're just starting to pay for the new school. It's kind of like anybody who has a family knows what January's like. You know, Merry Christmas. We just got a bunch of new stuff, but time to tighten our belts. That's the situation we're in now. As far as specifically to that question, that next year's budget, I wouldn't use the L word yet, and I don't think we'll need to tap into our stabilization fund. We do have 2 new marijuana facilities coming online that will help our revenues a little bit. So just with the raise in revenues over the next year, it should be able to cover our contractual obligations. So as long as we stay fiscally conservative, we should be okay without making any cuts to services.
Mr. Woods?
I would move to level fund the budgets other than contractual obligations for next year. I think one of the problems we've had in town, and I was part of it 30 years ago, is we've been too reactionary rather than being proactive. We know we have a storm coming. We need to start right now to prepare for it, not wait till it gets here. So my motion would be to level fund the budgets, and other than contracts you have to pay. But that would be my motion.
Okay. A quick follow-up, just because Mr. Chapin mentioned it. So the town currently has 2 cannabis retailers open. We have 2 more supposedly coming online at some point this year. Are you satisfied with the way that it's being operated and managed in this town so far? I'll start with you, Mr. Chapin.
Them specifically, sure. They've been good neighbors. No complaints have come to our desk. That's for sure. They've been fine. The bill itself, the business, I wasn't a fan. I voted against the bill. It's poorly written. It gives way too much to the state and way too little to the local communities. But as far as specifically the ones we've had in town, we've had no issues with. So no, they've been good businesses, and I wish them luck.
I haven't heard of any problems in regard to the town.
Okay. Mr. Barr?
Same thing. If no news is good news, and if they're bringing money into the town, good for us.
Okay. Mr. Bunker, you just asked this one. Mr. Chapin, I think you're first on this one.
Sure.
What role should the select board take in guiding the operations of the Abington Police Department? Should they be involved in resolving persistent workplace strife within APD, or is that solely the role of the police chief and the town manager?
That's in the charter. I mean, it's really, so it is the role. If there's an issue with the town, 6 years ago, we were having a major issue with the police department. as you know. And as a member of the Board of Selectmen, we can't get involved, and we wouldn't want to get involved with day-to-day operations of any department in town, never mind the police department. But we do have contractual control and some oversight of the town manager. And we need to make sure he's doing his job. And if there's an issue in the town department, we talk to Scott. And Scott's been great about open communication with us. So if there are issues, that there is communication between him and us. So that's how I would handle it, is to work the town manager to take care of the issue.
Okay. Mr. Bunker?
Mr. Bunker's over there.
He's just Bunker. He's just Bunker. I'm Mr. Bunker.
I just have Bunker words in my head.
Just so everyone knows, Paul Bunker is my compatriot here, and my nickname is Bunker because I was born on Bunker Hill Day.
Same day as that Bunker over there.
Mr. Woods?
So clearly there's something going on at the police department, because if you turn on Channel 25, they're standing in front of the police department fielding complaints. So our form of government calls for a strong town manager who's responsible for dealing with the department heads. But as the elected Board of Selectmen, we're the leaders of the town. We set policy. So if there's a problem in a department, or a perceived problem or a potential problem, then it's our job as elected officials to sit down with the town manager and find out what's going on, what needs to be done, and make sure it gets corrected so it doesn't end up on the news. That's my opinion.
Mr. Bunker?
So the police, just like any other department in town, I fully support the police. I work with them every day in different towns throughout the state. And if they're not getting the response from a complaint from the town manager, then I'll reach out. They can reach out to me or any of the other selectmen, I'm assuming, and hopefully get some follow through from the town manager that way.
All right. Next question is for at least Mr. Chapin. Thank you, Mr. Sampson.
I just went.
Mr. Woods. The town owns a number of parcels of open space that are either inaccessible or undeveloped. What should happen to those properties? I think we're talking maybe planned off Rockland Street, Blueberry Hill, other scattered things throughout town that maybe people don't even realize that we own as a town.
I think you have to look at them. I'll say this, again, tooting the horn. I donated 6 acres of land on off of Linwood Street that ran along the Beaver Brook. I donated over an acre on Rockland Street that was developable. And the land that you want to build the basketball courts on, I owned, and was approved for 18 apartments, and the town preferred they not be built, and the town bought it. So I agreed to sell it to them. So I'm not one that talks about it, I'm one that does it. So I think there's several parcels of land that in Abington that we own. Some of them are in neighborhoods that I think, to be honest with you, would make perfectly good homes in those neighborhoods. And I think there's other land that the town should work towards to acquire. Now, to be honest with you, I donated the land off of Linwood Street that was on the river, and I get a tax benefit from doing that. I think what we need to do as a town is start to identify some of those and approach the owners and say, would you be interested in donating your land to the town? In some cases, they may. If they've owned it for 30, 40 years, that might be something they want to do. So it goes back to being more proactive on what we do. Some of the land, to answer your question directly, I think has potential development and should be. And again, if it's something that the town is looking to do, it should be put out at a meeting publicly so people understand it. So they understand the inventory list, they understand what we're recommending, and we get their feedback. But I think there's a lot of open space out there. I know there's been talk of doing a town forest out here. I know a family that owns 20 acres that abuts here. They would be one I'd approach and see what could be done with them to work to acquire that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bunker?
So as conservation chair, like I said, one of my goals was to have a better open space plan. So I've attended a bunch of the open space meetings. As I talked about earlier, we put a bunch of land into conservation back in 2023. And actually at our Conservation Commission meeting last Monday, we actually had a joint meeting with Open Space, talked about the parcels primarily over here that run from here out to Orchard Lane, about potential for a town forest, and also the land over on Thompson's Pond. And the consensus from that meeting was to try, Thompson's Pond was a better option for a town forest. You had more laid out trails that are already there. The issue with being over there is the only real option for a parking lot would be the Spruce Street lot, which is in Rockland. But if you use that as a town forest, it basically connects to Rockland's town forest, which then connects to the rail trail, which you get a nice loop if you put something over there. And I don't know, Roger, you might be able to answer this, being on the Southfield Redevelopment Association. Is there potential to maybe put a parking lot somewhere on the Abington portion over there to do something?
Definitely potential. I don't know what the plan's not going to develop over there until they solve the water and sewer, and then if you build it, they will come, is kind of how it's worked over there. There's been a lot of commercial groups that want to come into the base, but they can't satisfy their needs because of the water and sewer. Until then, they can't be definitive.
Mr. Chapin?
Yeah, I'm real proud of the fact that over the last 6 years, since 2018, we've put more land into conservation as the members of the Board of Selectmen than any other time in the town's history. It's really great. Really put a new emphasis on preserving our town. We have plenty of lots that are buildable now. We don't need more of them. I've been working with Scott on what we're calling the Green Wave Connector, trying to connect with bike trails, walking trails, the state park, all the way up to the rail trail with the new land that we've acquired from Rockland Street. We've been working for at least 10 years now on the Pohiki Farm land to try to connect around the state park. They disappeared into Europe. We can't find them, so we're trying to take their land by not paying their taxes, but there's a lot of red tape involved in that. So that's hopefully coming down the pike real soon. We'll be able to walk around the park, assuming we give that land back to DCR, and be able to have trails there and trails all the way from the state park up to the rail trail.
There's also other property along the Cleveland's Pond that would also need to be purchased or donated to close the loop.
All right, I have two more questions I'd like to get through, and then we'll wrap this up. Mr. Bunker, this is for you first. The volume of traffic, as well as the speed of traffic in Abington neighborhoods, is a growing problem. Can anything be done regarding traffic problems?
Yeah, I mean, Route 18, like I said in my interview last week, it's a super speedway now. And when I'm coming home from work, from getting off Route 3, it seems like, even though the road is wider, it seems like it takes longer to get home. It seems just traffic backs up at every light. The worst one being still in Weymouth, but right where Factory Paint used to be. Traffic light there is atrocious for anybody that wants to get onto Adams Street to get home. It backs up to the entrance to Union Point, the CVS entrance to Union Point. So I think reaching out to MassDOT, District 5, they have some good people in the traffic division over there that I've dealt with on other projects. So I think having a dialogue with them would be great. And also with the residents, they should, if there's an issue with speeding, I think, Tim, you can answer this, but I think selectmen have authority over reducing speeds in certain streets.
Certain streets, it's not as easy as just saying we're going to do it, but it's a little easier now than it used to be, sure.
Mr. Chapin, do you have additional thoughts on?
Yeah, as far as traffic congestion goes, and by the way, I drive that same road on Route 18, and whoever designed that light, I mean, geez. Anyway, yeah, as far as congestion goes, the DPW, I mean, John Stone's department has done a fabulous job of applying for grants to really improve some of the areas around town and make traffic better. I mean, we see it at North Quincy Street now. We're soon to see it, hopefully, at the end of Hancock and Chestnut, Randolph Street. The end of Old Randolph Street is now, clearly a one-way, is it before? So it's definitely getting better. I wish we could just throw money at everything and have it be done with, but we got to wait for funding, and John and his team have done a great job with that. As far as speed of traffic, it's really enforcement. I would like to see more enforcement from the police department on speed, on certain areas that get the most complaints.
Mr. Woods?
For the speeding problem, definitely enforcement. I agree with that 100%. I'm one that used to have a very heavy foot and became very friendly with the Abington police, getting pulled over several times on Washington Street. And trust me, it worked after several tickets. So, all kidding aside, it's true. I think enforcement, and again, how we were talking about dealing with the departments, that would be one. You go to the town manager and say, can you speak to the police? We need to start doing it. Because I think what they do is they'll stay in a certain street area for a week. They pull a lot of people over. It slows down, move on to the next one. It should be something that goes, it seems like in the spring is when you start to see them out pulling people over. But we need to do it. Because all of us have been driving around Abington and you see some mother with her children in a crosswalk and the car go right by them and they don't stop. So it definitely enforcement. The traffic, we're working with the state. They're doing the rotary at Chestnut and Hancock Street, which is necessary. But again, I know I keep hopping this, but I'm going to give you an example. I had a resident from Hancock Street call me because they had called Town Hall to try to get the speed limit down on Hancock Street, and no one called them back. No, didn't call the selectman. This isn't a shot at Tim. Called Town Hall. So he finally called me and said, can you help us do this? Because the speed limit, believe it or not, on Hancock's 40 miles an hour, which is too high. So I came up, I reached out, and now Tim and the rest of them have taken care of getting the speed limit lowered to from 40 to 30 miles an hour, which will work out good with the roundabout they're going to build. But it just goes to, I think we need to step it up as elected officials in town to respond to our townspeople. I think that's, if I had to say what's the biggest issue, I think that's it. We need to inform people, and that'll get people involved.
Thank you very much. This is going to be our last question. I'm actually going to cut the response time down to 1 minute. It's a pretty simple question. That's okay. Mr. Chapin here first. When people ask you why you live in Abington, what do you say?
Where else would I live? Have you been here? No, I mean, I visit all sorts of towns, and no, Abington's the best town, the best schools, the best people. I mean, I would never leave these people.
Okay. Mr. Woods?
We moved here when I was 4 from Charlestown. Half of my brothers and sisters are Abington townies. My other brothers and sisters, except for one, have been spread out all over the world in the military, working for the State Department, and I just always, when I grew up here, I'm like, I'm getting out of here. I'm never coming back, and I never left. And I have absolutely no regrets. I think it's a great town. We look forward to raising Emily and I's daughter here. I just absolutely love the town. And actually, where my office is located, a little trivia, when I was a kid, that was a burger restaurant. I don't know if everybody knows that, right at the end of the street. It was burger time, and the stone barn where Quincy Memorials rents for me was the dairy barn. Back when, back in the old days in Abington. So it's a great town, as Tim has said, and I know Paul's going to say the same thing. Great people, great schools, great everything. I love it.
Okay. Mr. Bucker?
So, community. The camaraderie this town shows. You go to the soccer field on Saturday morning in the fall, just the vibrance, the enthusiasm of the families and the kids playing. Same thing with baseball, same thing with any sport. Also, our seniors, what they do over at the senior center, all the events they have there, and what Abington Celebrates does, the three events they put on every year, bringing the fireworks back to town was great. Growing up, whenever you said you were from Abington, the first two things people would say is the Haunted Mansion, and the other was the night before the 4th fireworks. It's great that they brought him back for Founders Day weekend. And just like I said, I've worked in, I think, 53 different cities and towns in this community. I couldn't pick a better one to live in or stay in than Abington.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we have brief closing statements. We'll start with Mr. Woods. Yeah, 1 minute for a closing statement.
I'll talk fast. I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank my fellow candidates in the Democratic and Republican town committees. Also, I want to thank Abington Aspire, who've become very involved in what's going on in town, and I appreciate that very much for hosting tonight's event. Abington Cable, of course. I asked for one of your 2 votes for the Board of Selectmen on Saturday the 27th. Our town faces significant financial constraints in the coming years, and we need people experienced in budgeting and making the hard decisions to lead. I grew up in town, went to school in town, and work in town. I'm a candidate that will be responsive and proactive on behalf of our residents. I've expressed my vision and my positions on several of the issues presently before the town and issues I think the town will be facing in the future. Hold tonight my campaign literature, and I just want to thank you for considering me.
Okay. Mr. Bunker.
So I want to be a new voice for Abington. I know it's an elected volunteer position, but just like my full-time job and other volunteer work, I will give this town my all. I work tirelessly for the people of this community. If anyone has a problem and it's not being addressed, call me, text me, email me. I'll help you find the solution to your problem and direct you to the person that does. Also, as I've said before, from working in so many different municipalities in the state, I have a vast network of friends and acquaintances, DPW directors, water supervisors, selectmen, city councilmen, mayors that I can reach out to and get their input on problems that may arise. And I'd be honored to receive one of your 2 votes on April 27th or during early voting. Thank you.
Mr. Chu.
First thing I want to do is thank my beautiful wife, Megan, who showed up tonight and surprised me. She was able to move things around, so that was a pleasant surprise. Also like to thank my kids who are going to watch this at a later time, Mackenzie, Axel, Skylar, and Madeline. They're all 5 of them have been by my side since day one, and they really are great. They keep me in check. So I'd also like to thank the gentleman sitting at the table tonight with me. Thank you, Roger, and thank you, Paul. You both already contribute a lot to the community. Thanks for being willing to step up. Thanks for putting yourself out there. I know it's not easy. No matter what happens on April 27th, I know that the real winner will be the residents of Abington. As I was preparing to run for the board again, I was going through my campaign closet, and I found what was my first push piece. I found it interesting in the major points I ran on in 2018. Town hall communication. At the time, it was non-existent. You were lucky you could find a meeting date on the website, let alone an agenda or previous minutes. Quite frankly, it was a joke. Over the past 6 years, we've gone from that to posting meetings and minutes to actually redoing the website completely so that it can be easily navigated. And fast forward to today, you can actually obtain all this information in an app on your smartphone. Police contracts. 6 years ago when I came on the board, the police had been working for 3 years without a contract. The relationship between our offices and Town Hall was contentious, to put it mildly. Since that time, our offices have continually and amicably been under contract. They've gone from the lowest paid department on South Shore to one of the highest. They now work for a town that not only values them, but values their continuing education and training. As recently, we have been able to provide them with education incentives that give them what is equal to Quinn Bill benefits. The town is proud of its police officers and will continue to stand by them. No tuition full-day kindergarten. 6 years ago, our kids were only going to kindergarten for 3 hours a day. Now they're going full-time, giving them the tools they need to succeed with their education moving forward. School security. 6 years ago, we had 0 full-time student resource officers. We now have enough staffing to provide 3 full-time student resource officers. 2 of them are human, and one's a cute canine, but all 3 add value to our kids' lives every day.
Bills and minutes. We're going to see the finish up.
I'll move to the last paragraph. I'm proud of the work my colleagues have done over the last 6 years. Along with these things, we've also seen our health department that consists of only secretary now be fully staffed. We've been able to add a town planner. We currently have a veterans department that we had no dedicated veterans agent at the time. We now have the best in the state and a fully department. Anyway, I could go on for about how far we've come in 6 years, but I know I'm already over my time. I'll just close on this one. On April 27th, I urge you to vote for the candidate proven to move Abington forward. The candidate that will provide an open and honest communication with the residents.
Thank you very much.
The candidate that will continue to move Abington forward for years to come. On April 27th, vote for me, Tim Chapin, Board of Selectmen.
At this time,
Thank you. You can go home now.
I'm going to move to suspend my rule of no applause and ask that you all give these candidates a hearty round of applause for a job. Again, I'd like to thank the Abington Republican Town Committee, the Abington Democratic Town Committee, and Abington Aspire for organizing this event. I invite everyone in attendance to stay for a moment, enjoy some cookies and select muffins and other refreshments. And for those watching at home, thank you for giving up some of your time to learn about these candidates. Most appreciated that Abington Camp is recording this for us. The annual town elections will be held on Saturday, April 27th at the Beaverbrook Elementary School. Please go vote. Thank you very much.